welcome to Plus One Forward, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your MC tonight, Rach, and I'm joined by my guests, Sam Roberts and Sam Tung. Welcome to the show, Sam and Sam.
Great to be here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
How long have the two of you been playing Powered by the Apocalypse games? What were your gateways?
I guess I'll start. I started with Dungeon World because I was a D&D person for a long time and had just been constantly searching for the game that felt like the D&D that was in my head that I could never quite capture. And Dungeon World was it. And then from there, I found every other Powered by the Apocalypse game and fell in love.
So, yeah, Sam Roberts and I were pals, and I was playing games like 3.5 and Pathfinder, and always really bad at keeping track of all my stats. And, you know, I was always into the story stuff, and Sam Roberts kept saying, you got to check out this game called Dungeon World, you got to check out this game called Dungeon World. But I think the first one we actually played was we were in a book club together, and we'd read this novel that was like an Icelandic saga. And so as part of our like book club discussion, we played Sagas of the Icelanders. And it was really awesome, and it really helped me get my head around like how the system works and why it works and how it's sort of drama forward as opposed to stats and crunchy stuff like that I was less interested in to begin with. So yeah, and then after that I've played quite a bit of Apocalypse World and Dungeon World.
I find that combination of starting points so fascinating because you have something that is very mainstream, not to dismiss Dungeon World, but it's very accessible, versus Saga of the Icelanders, which has multiple barriers in front of it to get to it. And then seeing the product you two made, taking those as starting points, is fascinating.
Yeah, I think Saga's just sort of hit this sweet spot where I'm sort of like a Viking nerd to begin with. And one of the cool things about these Powered by the Apocalypse games is that they can have such laser focus on areas of interest. And, you know, maybe Sagas doesn't have as wide appeal as something like Dungeon World, but for the people who are interested in it, it's like, oh my God, somebody made a game that is just for me.
Yeah, I always joke that there are like a couple things that Sam is really obsessed with. And one of them is Vikings, and the other one is dinosaurs. So there's already a Viking game. So
so we had to make the dinosaur one.
But it helps when you like have someone who knows the lore of Sagas of the Icelanders and really understands, and the fact that we had all read a book that was really steeped in that culture, it makes it a lot less challenging.
No, I follow you. The time I played Sagas of the Icelanders, my MC was my friend Alexander, who was a super big history buff, and he's like, no, the government is called the All Thing. And I'm like, it's called a what? An All Thing?
But also, it's just such a great game, I think, in terms of showing you the possibilities of Powered by the Apocalypse, because you're like, what? I can have a class that is a man or a woman coming out of, you know, a world where the options are fighter, mage, thief. It really explodes your sense of what's possible.
The framing of gender in the moves and the playbooks is a very daring take in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that, like, and this isn't necessarily an Apocalypse World hot take, but, you know, the moves that you have access to tell you a lot about the world you're in, right? And so in these maybe more traditional game, right, if all of your moves are sort of combat-based, you know, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And then in Sagas of the Icelanders, you have all of these, like, weird social leveraging things, and so suddenly the moves you can make and what the game is about something very different than sort of traditional sword and sorcery tabletop role-playing type stuff, and that was really interesting and leads to a lot of cool drama and problems to solve.
That brings us to our first segment, Read a Sitch, where Sam R and Sam T will discuss some aspect of Powered by the Apocalypse player table culture that they feel should be spotlighted.
Read a Sitch.
One thing that we were pretty interested with this game and sort of games in general is the idea of low prep games and one-shot games, because a lot of people are busy adults and it's hard enough to get people together to play once, much less for an ongoing campaign. So we're pretty interested in how to make a good one-shot, and making a good one-shot within Apocalypse World engine games specifically has its own sort of unique challenges.
So one of the, if I can jump in.
Yeah, please.
One of the things that we discovered that's really challenging, and it was something that came up a lot in playing, is that because you're playing to find out what happens, and because you're failing forward all the time, an interesting fact, it's one of the best parts when you're playing a campaign, but one of the hardest parts when you're playing a one-shot Powered by the Apocalypse game is that you can just go off on complete tangents. And those tangents are always really interesting and exciting, but if you're trying to play a one-shot, it's really easy to get off track. And so it's really important and non-obvious that you have to be kind of thinking about how you're going to keep things on track, even as you're playing to find out.
Yeah, the expression I often hear is stolen cars, referring to PCs and NPCs with one-shots, but that doesn't mean the car has to immediately veer off the road.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way of thinking about it. Like, even if you're driving a stolen car and you're driving faster and veering around other people, you're still, in a one-shot, you still kind of need to get to where you're going on time.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
What tools or advice do you have for GMs who might be intimidated by running a one-shot game? How could they prepare for that experience?
Personally, I'm a big fan of having a lot of resources at the table. I think one thing that I really like about Powered by the Apocalypse games as opposed to more traditional tabletop games is that I don't have to pay attention to quite as much, right? I'm not trying to track every single initiative order of every single goblin or player in combat. So anything I can do to help myself think less is always good. For me, having a lot of like tables or random encounter tables is really helpful. Just lists of names, other resources, pre-made dungeons, one-page dungeons, anything I can just kind of grab and plug in, I'm all about.
I think for me, I'm always just trying to be cognizant of the time and where we are in the session. You have a lot of control because you're not rolling as the MC or the GM or the Dino Master in our game. As the MC or the GM, you have a lot of control over where the game goes because you're not limited by random chance. And so a lot of it is just not necessarily using the first thing that comes to mind, even though that's often a really good strategy. And instead thinking about, where am I in the session? How can I veer this towards where I want it to go? Am I trying to wrap things up? Am I trying to broaden things out? What can I reincorporate to make it feel more like I'm getting to the ending? And just really, really being aware of the arc you're trying to build for your story, even as you're playing to find out what happens.
So that's for the GM or the MC perspective. How would you encourage better one-shot or small campaign play from a player perspective?
I mean, for me, I think it's about building a character who everyone can really get and grab onto easily, because one of the challenges of one-shot play is you're not necessarily starting with relationships that have been hashed out over sessions and sessions of play, and you don't have the time to build them. You're like, I want to make a character who's more interesting than, like, this guy is the big meathead barbarian, but everyone knows how to interact with a meathead barbarian. Something like that can help everyone figure out who you are and start playing with your character really quickly.
Yeah, and to sort of springboard off of that idea, it's a similar idea, but I think just buy-in, right? In a more traditional campaign, like Sam Marr said, you just have a lot more time to sort of tease out what this campaign is about, what this story is about, who my guy is, who everybody else's character is. And so anything you can do to sort of like lean into it and take the bait or the plot hook maybe that the GM is offering is probably going to make everything run more smoothly, whereas in a longer campaign, you just have more leeway to try something else or not take the plot hook or something like that. And it's not as bad if you sort of get derailed.
I think one of the things that I also really like to do, and this is something I do even in one-shots or no-prep games or longer campaigns, is just imagine my character not as the protagonist of the story, but as a supporting character to the other PCs. Because when you think of your character as something more like an NPC or a supporting character, all of a sudden you'll play your character a little bit broader. You'll think about how your character relates to this other character and what sort of themes that are in that character's personality or backstory you're trying to draw out or highlight. By doing that with all the other PCs in the game, then all of a sudden you start to build this tapestry of characters that feel like they all mesh together, especially if everyone's doing it.
Can either of you think of any good examples of characters that really stand out of your mind that you brought to like a one-shot game that might inspire our listeners and get them to think a little bit out of the box?
This is a character that I feel like I've made more than once in some sort of Dungeon World or even 5th Ed one-shot or short campaign. But I have sort of a recurring halfling character named Rufus Roundbelly, whose goal is to eat his way through the magical world. So he's usually a halfling rogue, and similar to the comics, Rutabaga or Delicious in Dungeon, he's sort of a plucky fellow who's all about traveling the world to eat unicorn steaks or dragon burgers or acquiring magical herbs to cook with and things like that. And I think it's a character that people get pretty quickly. And it's a lot of fun for me to play, and also makes it very easy for that character to have buy-in on the adventure. to say yes to whatever the GM is offering.
The one I always think of also is I alluded to this earlier, but this Meathead Barbarian in the first one shot of Dungeon World we played, and it was the kind of thing where everyone was coming from D&D, and so people showed up with these deep character backstories, and I'm this mage who is is a drunk because I'm trying to get over this traumatic experience that happened to me, and then there was one guy who was just like, I'm Grok the Barbarian. And he was the character who was by far the most memorable, and he was a character who everyone wanted to interact with. And I was one of those people before that who made characters who were much more nuanced. And I came out of that session being like, why am I not doing that every session? Why am I not making Grok the Barbarian? It's so much more fun that way. I used to work in television, and it made me reflect actually a lot on TV writing and how great TV characters are created. And we often think of, maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but we always think of TV characters as the characters we love as being really complex. But if you look at how they start off, they're always very, very one note. And then what we do over time is you see, then there's a twist, and they're not everything that you thought they were. And then there's another twist, and they build on them over time. But the first time you meet this character, almost always, even if you take a character who you love and who you think of as really nuanced, they usually start with something very simple and very easy to understand.
No, I totally follow you in that tangent. When I was a younger media nerd, I was fascinated by pilot episodes and pilot movies. I believe, God help us, we're going to bring up TV tropes, but they have this trope called like early installment weirdness where the characters aren't fully formed and stuff's being thrown at the wall. I always just found that so interesting.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little while to tease out what actually the right answer is. And I think probably with TV, it's especially complicated because you sort of are also figuring out what maybe an actor is good at. But yeah, in a longer campaign, you can always adjust as you go and tweak and change stuff. But for one shot, yeah, it's nice to have something clear to grab onto. I think I had a similar character in Plains. What was it?
Oh,
Dis?
The City of Dis. Yeah, we played
I was
a dimension hopping disc campaign for a while.
Yeah, I was a crocodile man named Sobek, and the sum of the character was that he bites and he fights, and it makes it easy to roleplay, and it makes it fun for other people too, I think.
Yeah, it's a good connecting spot and buying in really quickly and smoothly into what the GM's offering, and you're like, I know what I am, and this is what we have to work with, so let's go roll with it.
Yeah, and then you can get to the actual playing.
And on that note about making strong characters for one-shot play, it's time to open our brains as Sam R. and Sam T. and I discuss their game, Escape from Dino Island.
Open your brain.
Escape from Dino Island. What's the game about? What's the setting?
So, Escape from Dino Island, I think the name hopefully says it all, which is it's a game set in more or less the present day where you are trapped on an island teeming with dinosaurs and you are trying to escape. It's kind of a riff on Jurassic Park, on Lost, on a lot of our favorite kind of action-adventure stories, but specifically the kind where our heroes are competent, but they're also in over their heads, and fighting is rarely a good option.
So the setting for Dino Island is, like you might expect, it's sort of a tropical island. There's lots of different environments. There's volcanic regions and the beach and the jungle and things like that. The other parts of the setting that are really important is there are these big, mysterious, decrepit sci-fi facilities, what we call the complex. And the complex is where mysterious business things or sci-fi things and that sort of thing goes down. And so as a character, you're sort of moving between these natural environments and these man-made environments, which put you in sort of unique forms of peril, both from the dinosaurs that are in these environments, obviously, but also the environments themselves could be quite hazardous. And also that'll give you sort of a variety of places to go to solve mysteries and look for resources and look for ways off the island and things like that. So we really did try to put a lot of resources into the game for different locations and to help those sort of come to life and make it feel like a place.
But I think one thing that we're circling around also a little bit is that it's only sort of a setting, because the idea is that you'll make up your own Dino Island on the fly every time you play the game. So we've tried very hard to make it a setting that feels a certain way and that captures a spirit every time you play it, but also every game, your Dino Island is going to be new and exciting.
Right, more Legos than a board game.
That really stood out to me when I was reading through the rules and particularly the setting details, because it felt like you two went through and looked into various media touchstones and cultural touchstones, and then went, here's everything you would think of just to jog your memory, Are the dinosaurs here because of a time vortex? Are they here because of science run amok? Oh, it could be anything.
Yeah, we wanted to have a lot of those options, like we were saying earlier, for what makes DMing easier, especially in one-shots, is we wanted to have all these resources there for the Dino Master to grab on the fly.
And only the good ones.
And also for replay value, right? Yes, it is a one-shot that you can play once and get off the island, but we wanted there to be enough tools in the kit or Legos in the box that you could play Dino Island again and have sort of a different experience within the confines of the same theme and genre and that sort of thing.
And one of the themes of Dino Island is also the island is mysterious. And so it's kind of a bummer if you know all the mysteries of the island the first time.
Right, if it's a one-time game where the mystery is... It's not a module, is what we're saying, I think.
It's more of a toolkit than a module.
Yeah, I think so.
How are the mechanics different than Apocalypse World or one of your more mainstream Powered by the Apocalypse games?
So, I think the mechanics are very streamlined, and they really push towards action-adventure, at least from the player-facing mechanics. But one of the things that I think is really great about it, and one of the things that was actually the impetus for making this game, was Sam T wanted to run a dinosaur adventure game and was talking about using Dungeon World. And I, got off on my ranting, fist shaking thing. And I was like, that won't work at all, because what you need a game where you can't fight the dinosaurs. So the only moves are run and hide. As you'll see if you look at our playsheet, the first two moves on the playsheet are run and hide. It's about how do you make a game that feels exciting and captures all of that action spirit without making it a game that is about tactical combat.
From the discussion about non-combat, it sounds like the game is less about you need to go fight the dinosaurs and more the dinos are part of this environment that you have to deal with and grapple with, and that's where the tension comes from.
Yeah, I would say that that's an accurate read of it. Sort of like earlier, we were talking about how the locations may provide their own hazards. The dinosaurs really are almost more like environmental hazards, right? You can't really fight them any more than you can a rock slide or something like that.
I think one of the other things about it is that when we started playing with the idea of you can't fight the dinosaurs, one of the other things that was really important to us was making this a game about teamwork. Because one of the big touchstones for me is Lost, and one of the most iconic lines from Lost is live together, die alone. And so we started to think about how we could build mechanics that kind of gave you the choice to live together or die alone. And so a lot of the moves specifically play off other players, and so you have to help other people, or if you want to create a distraction, it's to protect one of the other PCs or something like that.
Yeah, I think you even see that a lot in Jurassic Park, right? The lawyer runs off and he gets eaten. Nedry is sort of selfish and not a team player. He gets eaten. Having to look out for each other and care for each other is the only way you're going to survive an island full of dinosaurs.
On the DM side, we've given them a lot of tools to be able to run a no-prep, one-shot game. And so there's a lot of mechanics there that are kind of soft mechanics, but that really enable someone to do this without feeling completely overwhelmed or completely lost, even if you don't know anything about dinosaurs, even if you're not good at coming up with mysteries on the fly, stuff like that.
What are your favorite moves and why?
Sam, you want to start?
Sure, I'd love to. So my favorite move in this game actually, I think, started as a joke, but we have a move, it's one of our basic moves called the Best Laid Plans. When you take too long to discuss your course of action, the DM makes a move. And it started as a joke about keeping things moving at the table, and I've certainly had game sessions where we get mired in planning the perfect heist, and you spend 30, 40 minutes of your game trying to account for every inevitability, and by the time you have this heist plan, everybody is bored to tears or whatever. And so it started as a joke to keep things moving, but players in playtests actually really liked it, and it did help keep things moving. So we kept it in, and I think it's a pretty fun move.
Yeah, that one stood out to me because it makes explicit something that gets buried in a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, which is the GM can make a move, or the MC can make a move if the game stalls out. But here, you're positioning it as, if the PCs take too long, shove them forward.
Yeah, definitely.
I think my favorite move is a move that is for the Survivor playbook, and it's called Bin Around the Block. And so one of the things about the game is that there's a survivor, and so they're a little bit different from the other PCs in that they have been stranded on this island for a long time, and they have a hovel somewhere on the island, and they know the island well. And so, since this is a big game, the big part of this game is about exploration and also about building the island, we wanted to make sure that that was a core part of who the survivor is. And so there's this move called Been Around the Block, and it triggers when someone mentions a specific location on the island for the first time, roll plus clever if you've been there. And on a 10 plus, you know exactly where it is. Mark it on the map and gain +1 to all rolls when traveling there. On a 7 to 9, you remember where it is and the reason it's challenging to get there. Say what it is. On a miss, the DM will tell you the reason you swore never to go back there. And regardless of your roll, tell the story of the last time you were there. And what I love about this move is that it allows the survivor to kind of own their being on the island for so long, because they're able to populate the map, and to anytime someone mentions a location to be like, I've been there before. And then the question is not whether they've been there before, but whether that place is a good place to go or a bad place to go, whether it's going to be a challenge to get there. And it also allows them to build out their backstory. And so one of the things that we're doing throughout the game, and that's exemplified by this move, is that you start off with kind of a blank slate character, and then the moves allow you to build out that character through the story, which is also similar to the stories we love, like Jurassic Park and Lost, where you just don't know that much about these people going in, and part of the story is learning who they are.
One part of the player-facing moves in the game I've noticed is there's a lot of discussion about tell a story or share a story with your other players. Could you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so that was an idea that we had to sort of help build out the backstories of these characters during gameplay and build relationships between the player characters, and not have to come to the table with a whole biography written for your character. And it ended up being something we were really happy with. So the idea is called Stories You Tell, and there's a number of moves in the game, especially the moves in sort of the safety phase of the game. There's 2 phases of the game, peril and safety. And a lot of the moves in the game ask you to tell a story before you actually take your move and roll. And the stories help you build out the backstory of your character. For example, one of the soldiers' stories they might tell is a time that they cheated death or why they enlisted. A story that the kid might tell is a time they were really brave, or something cool a friend of theirs taught them. So it allows you to sort of get into the spirit and the tone of the character and build out some backstory. And then by telling these stories, exposing these personal moments of your past to the other characters at the table, it also sort of helps cultivate the survival in dire straits experience of the game that we're trying to go for.
The other cool thing about it is that it's something that you see in movies all the time. You're not learning about these characters except through their actions when they're running from a dinosaur or whatever, but then they hole up for a second somewhere and they have a little conversation, and that's when we get to get insight into who these characters really are.
Fabulous. I'm really excited to give this game a shot, so why don't we move on over to the actual play part of the podcast?
Oh no pressure.
It is time to act under fire.
Our last segment is Act Under Fire, where our guests will run a short example of their game. And I have 2 guests tonight, so how is this going to work out?
I'm going to be the Dino Master tonight, and Rach, Dr. Philpott, you will be joined by Sam R. as another friendly player character.
I'm going to play Ward the Hunter, and hopefully have your back.
Yeah, so we'll get to showcase a couple playbooks tonight, which will be fun.
Yes, and as previously messaged, I'm playing Dr. Philpott, who is a paleontologist, which seems on brand for this game.
Usually, we start Dino Island with a questionnaire, and that allows the party to make some choices as a group about why they came to the island, what hazards are keeping them on the island, things like that. Since we're only playing for a short window, we're going to issue the questionnaires tonight. But when you play that gives you, the Dino Master, a lot of sort of meaty stuff to start with and grab onto, and then drive the mysteries and hazards and things like that in the game from there. But tonight we're just going to jump in. I'll set the stage a little, and you guys can make a little progress through the island. So you guys find yourself, you've entered this large industrial sort of building that seems abandoned, but you noticed that the lights were still on outside. So there is still power to this building, even though the jungle is already starting to retake it, and a lot of it is sort of eroded and collapsed and things like that. And you guys are in a large room filled with rows and rows of servers. And this mainframe, there's this continuous electrical hum and the whirring of all these computer fans, blinking lights. The air is chilled to keep all these computers cool. You're making your way through these server stacks, and every now and then you think you hear something shuffling, maybe even like a bird chirp or something like that.
Do you hear that?
Dr. Philpott is observing the modern ruins, as she constantly likes to snark, and then she looks over her shoulder at Ward and goes, I can hear the hum of all these servers and electricity, but what did you hear?
I just am kind of looking around, trying to get a sense of where it's coming from. It sounds like almost like a bird chirping, but don't think it's a bird.
Suddenly, you hear somebody scream in the distance, and you hear a clatter as computer equipment and things like that are knocked over.
Well, that's not a bird.
How brightly lit is this space?
It's fairly dim. Most of the lights come from the computers. So there's running lights on a lot of these servers that are in racks and things like that.
Ward, would you happen to have a flashlight on you?
I don't, unfortunately. I think we should go check it out, though.
Yeah, Dr. Philpott is definitely going to creep as quietly as possible to see if she can get a closer view of whatever made the noise.
Okay, I think that is going to be considered just do it. When you do something you usually can do easily under pressure, say what will happen if you mess up, and then roll plus steady.
Oh, I definitely think Philpott is going to trip over all these server cables if she messes up.
Awesome. Excellent.
And that was 2 1s. So yes, I do mess up. It would have ended up with me having, it would have been a 1 on the roll with my -1 in steady.
Oh no. Incredible. As you try your best to stealthily sneak through these rows of servers, you catch your foot on a stray cable, topple over, and pull down a bunch of equipment on top of you. There's a loud noise, and as you look up from sort of your prone position, you see a man in black coveralls, sort of a workman suit, and he's being swarmed by a bunch of small dinosaurs that have webbed, almost bat-like wings.
Oh, this is...
And he's screaming, get him off! Get him off!
This is what I've studied for. I'm a dinosaur expert. Can I roll my dinosaur expert move?
Yes, please.
So my dinosaur expert move is when you draw on your knowledge to deal with real-life dinosaurs, roll plus clever. Let's see how clever I am today. I am a 9 clever, so that's better than my stealth roll. On a hit, you're able to identify the species, sex, and whether it's a herbivore or a carnivore. On a 7 to 9, you may ask one additional question. So tell me a little bit about this dino, or these dinos.
Okay, so you identify these as a swarm of Ambopteryx, which is a small kind of chicken-sized dinosaur that again has these wings that have skin between them, almost like a dragon wing or a bat wing. Clearly, there's quite a few of them. They're all over the sky. They are little carnivores. They have little tiny sharp teeth. And this seems to probably be a mix of male and female. You assume it's probably a pack of some sort. Let's see. And then you get to pick one of those moves below.
Oh, obviously, we're going to ask what their weakness is.
Okay. So their weakness, there's a bunch of dino gimmicks in the book. A big list of those to also help the Dino Master sort of customize these guys in interesting ways. You know that these dinosaurs hunt using sonar like a bat. So they have really good hearing, and they make different little chirps and clicks and whistles, and that helps them sort of locate their prey. And so because they have these sensitive ears, they may be weak to some sort of sound or sonic attack.
That's an interesting piece of information. Do they react any to the man's screams?
That does not seem to be enough to drive them off. He's calling for help as he's trying to swat these things away from him.
Can I see this guy?
Yes, let's say you've come around the corner after you heard Dr. Philpott topple over a bunch of computer equipment. And you see this man in trouble.
And how far away are they from me?
He's down at the end of the room. Maybe he's 30 feet away from you guys.
I'm going to start by helping Dr. Philpott up.
Based on my research, I think they'll react to high-pitched noises. They don't seem to be reacting to the screams, but maybe we could rig something together with these computers?
I don't know much about computers, but I have an idea. I pull out my hunting knife, and I just... the computers, are they housed in metal or plastic?
Whatever's convenient for you.
Let's say it's metal then.
Okay.
I'm just gonna take my knife and just drag it across the
Oh, okay. You got a real nails on the chalkboard situation.
Yeah, exactly.
You drag your knife across the metal, creating a high-pitched nails on a chalkboard situation. Everybody cringes, and the Ambopteryx look up, and they jump off the guy and disappear into little nooks and crannies throughout the room. The guy is bleeding from a bunch of bites, and he's trying to pick himself up off the ground.
I think we should go help him.
I definitely think we should go over and help him. He might have some more information as to what the heck's going on over here. Hello. Dr. Philpott is fresh from the academy. It should be very obvious. She just happily runs over with maybe a little bit of a limp from her earlier fall.
I hustle behind you. What are you doing?
How does the man react?
He's breathing heavily, and his first reaction when he sees you is he's like, "Thank you." And then as he sort of collects himself, he gets a little suspicious, and he side-eyes you a little. He's like, Who are you? How'd you get here?
Oh, I'm Dr. Philpott. I was brought in as part of a tour group. I think they want some positive buzz about this island on social media.
What are you doing here?
When you ask him that, and Dr. Philpott, when you tell him that you were brought here to work, he gets very shifty-eyed, and he's like, I'm here to maintenance. I got to maintain all of this.
This guy's acting really sketch, right? He's here maintenance.
Yeah.
What kind of maintenance are you doing here?
Let's say he's got a bag with him, and in the bag you don't see any tools, and you see like a camera, and you see what looks like some computer equipment maybe that has been like removed from these servers.
Oh, so software maintenance, hardware maintenance, just completely playing dumb.
He's like, yeah, software maintenance.
I don't think he's doing any sort of maintenance.
Ward, shut up.
Do you guys, why don't you come with me and help me maintain some more stuff?
Well, we're trying to get off the island, and if you can help us do that, then we'll follow you.
Yeah, I just need a little help maintaining some stuff, and then I'll help you off the island. And he starts leading you down this hallway, and he opens a door to another room. He's like, come on, I just need some help maintaining this stuff.
There's definitely a moment when this man is leading Ward and Philpott away that Philpott looks behind her back. Is there anything that looks very out of place in the trail this man ran from?
You can see, he had this computer gear with him, and you can see that it was like probably hastily removed from some of these racks. Looks like he probably just ripped a few of these out.
Doesn't seem like maintenance at all. But Philpott keeps that to herself.
So do you guys follow him?
I think we should.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's where the trouble seems to be. I'm definitely following him.
Okay. You guys follow him into a fairly large room that's almost set up like a movie theater with sort of like tiered seating. And there's all of these reclining chairs. And these chairs all seem to have these like VR headsets that come up over the back of the chair into the front of the chair. None of it seems to be on or working, but he immediately starts sort of unscrewing them, and he's like, offers you guys a couple screwdrivers, and he's like, yeah, just take a couple of these off. We're gonna maintain them, put them in my bag, and then we'll get the heck out of here.
What are these things?
Oh, they're for gaming, for the employees in your downtime.
This looks more like a space for tourists or visitors rather than employees.
You guys, they take pretty good care of the employees here. So we just got to get some of this stuff, and we'll get out of here.
Do you know a way out of here?
Oh yeah, definitely. I got a boat waiting, and you guys will definitely be on it.
Yeah, sure, we'll help you. I pull Dr. Philpott aside towards a VR headset and say, I don't trust this guy, but if he has a way off the island, maybe we should stick it out and see what happens.
Do you think that he's got a map possibly on his person? I mean, I can be a distraction. I could be obnoxious.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So Dr. Philpott is going to hop back over to this man and say, tell me a little bit more about this equipment that you use for entertaining the employees. It looks far beyond any of the technology I saw at the university. Can you show me how it works?
Oh, man.
He's
Okay.
just trying to be annoying and obnoxious so Ward can look for this guy's stuff or see if there's a map or anything.
Oh, this is nice. That's great. Okay, why don't we use look over there, which is usually to create a distraction for dinosaurs, but I think it's relevant in this situation.
This man's secretly a dinosaur. That's the plot twist, right?
Right, that's the plot twist. Yeah.
Dino Man.
So that's an 11 on my clever roll.
Excellent. All right, you're successful. So you have drawn his attention as intended. Ward, if you'd like to rifle through this man's stuff, I think you've got an opening.
Yeah,
I
want to rifle through his bag.
Okay.
Do I find anything helpful in his bag?
Yeah. So you do find a map to some docks, and you also find like an ID for a company called Mantel Industries. And based on the signage that you've seen around the facility, and also from what Dr. Philpott has told you about her, her job, that is not who you guys work for. In fact, that's one of the competitors.
So I'm going to grab the ID and pocket it.
Excellent.
And then I'm going to pick up the bag. And what's this guy's name on the ID?
This guy's name is Hicks.
So I say, Hicks. Does he turn around?
Yeah, he turns to you. Yeah.
I hold up the bag and say, I've got this bag, and I got this ID that I found inside it that says, you don't work here. And I don't think that's great. So I think if you want this stuff, you're going to have to take us off the island now. Forget about these headsets.
He puts his hands up, and he's like, okay. All right. Look, you caught me. We're just going to go out that emergency exit over there. And so there's, sort of like a movie theater again, there's like an emergency exit down sort of toward the front of the room.
I'm cool to follow him.
Yeah,
Are you?
I'm willing to see where this goes.
Okay.
As we go that way, I hand you the map, by the way. I want you to have the map.
Oh, I pocket it in my bag.
Okay. So you guys follow him out this door, and it leads to sort of an overgrown, what looks like it was probably a recreational field, right? You see like some decrepit like soccer goals, and the grass is all grown up. And as soon as you guys are out the door, he takes off, and he is trucking across the field trying to lose you guys.
I'm going to chase after him.
All right. Why don't you run for it?
All right. I rolled an 8. I got a 7 plus 1 for my fit.
Okay, choose one of these, and we may have to flex it a little given the context, because usually you're the one running in this game and not chasing someone, but we'll make it work.
I'm going to say I escape the threat being losing him, but I end up in a new perilous situation.
Okay.
So I tackle him somewhere, if possible.
Okay, you get to the edge of this field, you tackle him sort of at the edge of some forest. He is looking behind you, past you, and you see that in this field of tall grass, there's a bunch of sheep-sized dinosaurs with long tails, and they're kind of coming out of the grass and starting to circle around you guys and check you guys out. Dr. Philpott, you're still back at the exit of the building on the other side of the field, so you'll still have to cross this field to get to them.
Oh, I'm going to observe the situation and be a dino expert again.
All right, let's do it.
I am not so much an expert this time. I got a 5.
Okay. So I'll describe these guys a little bit. They walk on 2 legs. They have a long tail. They have a short, sort of triangular head, and the top of the head is big and dome-like. But more than that, you don't know a whole lot about these dinosaurs.
What is something uncanny or unexpected about these dinosaurs?
Yes. These dinosaurs... Sorry, I'm looking at my dino gimmicks list.
It's all right.
And picking one of these. Ward, these dinosaurs run at you and Hicks, and as they do, their colors sort of ripple across their surface, and they're really hard to get a lock on. They seem to change colors like a chameleon or a cuttlefish.
It's not like we studied at the university at all.
These guys are charging straight at you.
At me?
Yes.
I'm going to run for it again. I'm just going to ditch Hicks and just bolt. I say, Dr. Philpott, come on! And I run for it.
I'm going to pursuit. I wonder if for running, hold on to your butt, or I guess we're running specifically away from dinosaurs, so now that move's going to fire, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're going to make a run for it then.
All right.
Who's in the worst position?
I'm behind you. I got more field to go, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you want to get away from these guys, you've got more field to go.
I rolled a 10.
Hot dog.
My fit is +1.
Okay. Miraculously, you guys are able to outpace these dinosaurs. and sort of back in the distance, you can see now that they're sort of circling around Hicks as you guys flee. You guys run deeper into the forest. The air is heavy with humidity, and there's green in every direction. It can be very easy to get disoriented here. But you seem to have bought yourself a moment of safety from these dinosaurs.
I catch my breath.
Once we've gotten off of the field, Dr. Philpott sneaks back out to sort of the edge of the cliff face we've climbed up on. Just try to sneak a view of what happened to Hicks. Is there anything down there?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're using Lay of the Land. When you and a companion take a quiet moment to get a good vantage point and orient yourself, you'll tell a story and then roll plus clever.
Fabulous. As Philpott looks out over the field and the parting dinosaurs, she says, sort of half to Ward and half to herself, you know, a thing I never understood about people is what would drive them to do something that seems so counterintuitive to their own happiness and future. I mean, corporate espionage? What the hell is that bullshit? This guy could have been working a comfortable office job. He could retire and have a pension in 30 years. And instead, he's off on some mysterious island getting eaten by dinosaurs. I mean, it's not the choice I would have made.
I love it. All right, and roll clever, and I will tell you what you see, if anything.
I have a 10 with my clever.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, you climb up on this forest embankment and climb up in some trees, and you try to get a good view of what else is out there on the island. And down below you, you see a winding river, and there's a little shed at the head of the river, and the river seems to go out quite a ways, and in the distance it seems to lead to the ocean, where you hope there could be docks or a seaplane or some other method of escape.
That was fantastic. That was so much fun and really hit on the action-adventure part of the game.
Awesome. Thank you so much for playing.
Yeah, thanks, Rach. You were an excellent adventuring partner.
You too. Sam R and Sam T, if our listeners want to know more about Escape from Dino Island, where can they find it online?
So if you go to escapefromdinoisland.com, currently that redirects to our itch.io site, and there you can download the play sheets for free if you just want to take a look and get a sense of what all the moves are and things like that. And then you can also buy the PDF there.
And you can also see some of Sam T's amazing art.
Yes, there's lots and lots and lots of dino art in this game.
I think it's great. Sam can't say that, but I can.
And if our listeners want to follow your work elsewhere, is there any way they can check you out on social media?
Yeah, I'm on both Twitter and Instagram at stung_art.
And I'm on Twitter at SamKnight, SamNite.
And anything else we are working on, or if you just want to see more drawings of dinosaurs, those will be good places to see them.
Fabulous, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for having us, Rach.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community, Richard Rogers and Rach Shelkey. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at +1FWD. If you would like to support our show, visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/gauntlet. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and Magay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Aural Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko, Metal Version, and Drowning Attitude. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Aural Hotbed on their website, www.savageauralhotbed.com.
Hello listeners, we have two important pieces of Codex news to share with you. The first is that the hardcover edition of Codex Volume 1 is now available for purchase through Indie Press Revolution. This book is an exquisitely crafted journey into the early days of Codex magazine. It features the first 13 issues of Codex, including the original test issue Codex Blood, as well as the Discern Realities Dungeon World Annual. The book features 300 full-color pages, 150 GSM paper, a spot UV cover, and a ribbon bookmark. It's a fantastic collector's item and would make a wonderful holiday gift. The next thing we want to tell you is that November is Catch Up on Codex Month. We're very proud of the Codex magazine. We want as many people as possible to check out all the amazing game material and artwork found inside its pages. With that in mind, anyone who pledges $6 or more to the Gauntlet Patreon in November will get the first 4 PDF issues of Codex Volume 4 as part of their pledge. That's Codex Melancholy, Gold, Childhood, and the newest issue, Void. These are easily 4 of the best issues we have ever produced, and you can get them all for a single pledge in November. And you'll get a new issue of Codex every month so long as your pledge stays active. So please check out the beautiful hardcover Codex Volume 1 book and the catch-up on Codex Patreon special. We'll have links in the show notes.